Good evening, everybody. This is Rob Mazak. I am a psychic medium, and this is the 27th of July. It is a Saturday evening, and I'm going to come to you like I usually do with an idea to start with, a base idea. And we're going to see where it rolls and see how the topic unfolds. And as usual, I'm probably going to go around the circle a few times, but we'll get to the point. So nothing scripted here, just kind of coming from the heart. So I think the topic might be something titled, the majesty, the wonder of this place we call Earth. And so I was recently on an Alaskan cruise. Where you get on a ship and you hang out and eat too much, and if you drink too much. I don't drink, but it's like a week-long vacation where you can't really go anywhere else except on the boat, even though the boat is like a quarter mile long. It's huge. But it wasn't so much about that was the fun part, because for me personally, being around those thousands of people, watching everybody party was not exactly my idea of a good time. However, I thoroughly enjoyed the landscape and the scenery and the places we visited. It was absolutely amazing. My wife was able to get us booked on a balcony, in a balcony room with a balcony, which was so absolutely nice. And I just can't imagine being on a ship in an interior room where you can't see outside. Because somewhere along about halfway through the trip, we got sick. All of us got sick. And so we ended up holding up in the room for several days towards the end. But having that balcony, being able to look out over the water and all the awesome landscapes and mountains and snow and ice and glaciers and whales, it was just crazy. But I think what really struck me initially, at least, was looking out over the open water. It was different when we were close to land, at least on the side that's opposite of us, or whichever way. I don't think we were too far from land. On my side, or our side of the boat, the ship, heading north from Seattle, it was all open water. And it was just, as far as you could see, was water. And some of it was green, some of it was blue. I mean, there was a really odd assortment of colors with the ocean. But the first thought that struck me, I guess this is sort of like being a 5-year-old again. But what struck me was, if a gallon of water is around 5 pounds of weight, just imagine the sheer magnitude of weight that comes with all the oceans and bodies of water we have on this place we call Earth, this planet. Can you imagine the immense pressures that are probably at the bottom of the oceans? And some of those are like miles and miles and miles deep. And and I know you watch documentaries and like me, and you know that you can easily get crushed at not very deep areas of the water. But it just struck me as just completely just awesome. And it really brought me to a lot of thoughts about where we call home, and the majesty of this place, and the brilliance and the perfection of everything that allows us to live in this human experience on this place, or in this place, or whatever this place is. And if you've heard my talks before, I have talked a lot about different types of realities, different ideas. Are we really on a round spinning ball in a vacuum of space? Are we on a flat Earth that's motionless? Are we in a simulation? Now, I can tell you that the more I look at these things, the simulation idea really hits a lot harder. However, there's no proof for us common men, to really know what it is. But as I was looking out over the water, if I look back at the flat earth idea, the horizon should be completely even and straight from as far left or as far right as I can look. However, it was not that way. I'm not saying the earth isn't flat. I'm not trying to prove or disprove any of these. But what I saw was quite different than I thought I would see. And it wasn't because of the camera I was using. This is simply my own eyesight. And looking at videos from my wife's camera and my own phone, and it all came out the same. The horizon seemed to bend around the ship. Not directly around the ship, but as I looked to the left and I looked to the far right, it curved around and disappeared on, beyond the ship. But I was expecting to see the horizon, unlimited direction to my left and to my right, and I did not see that. And I don't know exactly how to take that, because even in a round Earth idea where, the Earth is 1,000 miles around at the equator, and it's pretty much a round planet, it still wouldn't make any sense, because the size of the ship was pretty big, but compared to the Earth, it's just a speck. So there's really no way that, in my mind, at least my simple mind, that the horizon could have curved around like that, because the Earth has been told to be like 2,500 miles around or something. I don't know. I mixed that up earlier. It's not 1,000 miles around the equator. It's 25,000 miles around the equator, roughly. It spins at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. A planet that big, what I should have seen is something completely different. It's almost as though our ship was sitting in its own little silo, our own little world, our own little part of the equation, in like a round, very round, big, round ocean. Almost like it was like we were just sitting in the middle of a round body of water. And it just didn't make any sense to me. But I guess what I've really discovered over time, researching a lot of different things and trying to make sense of some of this stuff, what I've discovered, I think, and this kind of proves it to me a little bit more, is that our perception really drives what we are presented in our reality. I say that, but the perception that I have, I don't really have a solid belief in any of the ideas or theories of our reality. So I don't know where that came from for me. And even some other strange things happened. I can't claim to know a lot about ships, but generally, especially on a cruise line, you would want your vessel to be pretty level for the most part. Otherwise, things are going to roll off the table and people are going to get upset, and it's just not going to be very many happy customers. But as I was sitting on my balcony, also around this time looking at the horizon, I was trying to take a picture of the horizon on the open water at a different angle. So I sat down in my chair and I was using the balcony rail as a guide to see if I was picking up any curvature. And what I actually picked up was the fact that the horizon compared to the boat was not level. So, common sense or simple ideas would state that the front of the boat in this particular instance would have been a little higher than the back for some reason, but it was quite a steep angle difference, and we were not feeling it in the cabin. And we had a lot of stuff on the desks and the tables and things, and nothing was moving around or falling off. So I'm not sure what that was about. But everything seemed to be very surreal, if you will. it looked real. It felt real. It was cold. I mean, I could feel the spray of the ocean, even though we were like on the 6th floor. It just seemed also at the same time to not be real, almost like it was being created for us as we went along. Like it was just, we were only allowed to see the portion of this reality in the space that we were in and nothing further. And even stranger than that is, when you look at the flat earth idea or, versus the round earth, if there is a ship that is out on the horizon, generally stated, anything on the water that's more than a mile away will start to disappear beyond the horizon. And I also had to look it up because I was looking at this ship that was way out there and I could see the whole thing even without my camera. According to internet sources, I know they're not 100%, but generally on open water like that, unobstructed views, you can see about 3 miles roughly. And so this ship was probably probably reaching that 3 mile limit. And I could see the whole thing. The idea of a round earth is that things will drop below the horizon or dip below the horizon at a 8 inches per mile squared. So at 3 miles, basically a lot of the bottom of the ship would have been missing. However, it wasn't. Then when we did zoom in on the camera, with all the experiments, I could see the whole thing. So who knows? I mean, it just felt like we agreed to be on this ride, this cruise, this ship. We were only authorized to see certain parts of the reality. Almost like in a video game or a simulation idea, where a video game doesn't, it likes to conserve power by only bringing forth the things around the character that are required to play the game. But all the other stuff is still there, but it's not actively running, if you know what I'm saying. So in other words, if a character walks into, say, a room or a house or a structure that's part of the game, that the computer will generate that house just as it always has looked, but only the house. But the rest of the environment in the game is not turned on. And so in a lot of ways, I felt like this is kind of what was happening. But whoever or whatever created this particular place we're in, they did a magnificent job. Oh my gosh, the beauty of the whales that we were seeing, all the stops that we did excursions on. We went up into the mountains. We saw trees that were thousands and years old, taller than some of our skyscrapers. Just the sheer beauty of what is out there to see, and to know that whoever put the time into creating this for us, however that happened, they really seem to care about us because they've put forth this beautiful product, this amazing place that we call home. And I'm not the big vacation guy, don't get me wrong. And, this is probably the first vacation we've done in 6 years, so we don't get out a lot of places. After this trip, I really want to go see more things, and not work all the time, but just, a whole nother topic. I think that God or whatever you would call your creator or your idea of a creator must be very magnificent, because this place is so intricate, so detailed, so beautiful. It's hard to even put words into it. I mean, going out on the water, just really, you should try it sometime. Whether you're, in an expensive cruise, or you're just on a boat, or you're just standing by the water's edge and looking out across it, it almost brings you to your knees sometimes, the beauty of this. But even when you look at reality and everything seems so solid and so real. And you can touch it, you can feel it, you can smell things, you can see things. You can process this whole reality. There's so much new science behind, not necessarily science behind what things are made of or what things are. Because I think that they're still struggling to describe what things are. But being able to detect and describe how things behave is definitely something that we've gotten better at. But there's so many ideas in science now that shows that much of what we perceive as real or reality, our cells, everything, we were always taught that there's, that the atom was the basic building block of everything. Well, we're way beyond that now. I mean, they're able to peer in like super, super small. But, even when we think we've gotten to the smallest particle or idea, then new things come up. And I was just recently watching a video where it shows that using experiments, for example, where they pull space, completely pull all the gravity, electromagnetism, everything that they can possibly pull out of this space to try to define what nothing might look like. Nobody seems to have been able to create an absolute nothing. Even if it appears to be nothing, there's definitely something happening. And it seems like it happens at will. Well, at least the way we would describe things happening at will. Obviously, if there's someone that's at the helm of this reality, then it wouldn't be at will. It would be at their desire. It's not happening by accident. This particular video was reaching back and trying to describe the Big Bang thing, and could something really be created out of nothing? And then it almost, at least what I saw of the evidence, almost has me a believer in the fact that something can come out of nothing. But based on the laws of physics as we understand them now, it'd be very difficult to show or believe that something can come out of nothing. Yeah, I think there's always something. I think there always has been something, which is hard to fathom. If something has been created and then things are created, beyond that or because of that, I mean, look at our creation. We've been created apparently, and here we are, and we are creating all kinds of things, and then those creations will create things, and it's just a big chain link thing. But where did it start? The chicken first or the egg first? Where did it all start? It must have started somewhere. I mean, this can really blow your mind. And when you go on a trip like I did, it's hard not to think about these things. It is difficult not to try to put some measure of common sense to what you're seeing and experiencing and understanding or trying to understand. But I'm not real sure what to believe. But I guess in a lot of ways, does it really matter what we believe? We are here by tremendous odds that you've probably heard me say that before. And I just saw this video again to validate that what I was repeating was actual science. Is that, we is such tremendous odds. It's like 400 trillion to 1. And the amount of people that could have been born versus you being here is just intensely, astronomically large. And so we're here. Why are we here? What is the purpose of us being here? Did we get to choose? I'm also reading another book that I forget the exact title, but it has to do with what really caught me was it was like gray aliens. It had gray aliens in the title, and I've gotten through like 4 chapters of it, and it really hasn't talked about anything about aliens yet. But it really dives into a lot of this stuff that we're talking about. It really it also pings on the fact that more and more we are proving or showing, I guess proving is not a good word, we're demonstrating that this is more and more looking like a simulation. Now, simulation could mean a lot of things, right? A simulation could be literally we're in some video game, in some pimply face kid's computer in a basement somewhere. I don't know if that's really the case. And we could also be part of what I've seen in one of my meditation journeys as a very high level biological simulation that is a very high-end experiment, study, simulation to see how to perfect the human body, the human mind, the human evolution, hopefully create something even better in the future. And these are the kind of things I get to see through meditation, but we won't go down that rabbit hole just yet. But I find it amazing how many people are really questioning this and getting into this idea of trying to prove what our reality looks like. I mean, I'm sure they've been talking about this for eons, right? Even back I'm sure in the caveman days when they could barely think, I'm sure they were also questioning what this place was. What is this place we call Earth? Well, I don't know if they called it Earth. Some of the philosophers of the early times of our history, our written history, and they questioned it a lot. I think it was Descartes that it was talking about, if I can think, then I exist. Back in those days, they had no real science or no scientific experiment opportunities to try to prove or look at what they were theorizing. At least now, whether we can call it proof or not, we're able to really peer into the smallest depths of reality. And it is quite amazing at those levels. I mean, I had another meditation journey. I'm sure I've talked about it before, but where I was able to actually meet with a very elite woman on the smallest particle known to exist in this reality. At least that's the way she described it. And what was interesting there's a couple of things that was interesting. I won't do the whole story, but the interaction of the smallest particle available, it interacted eternally with everything. Every time it pulsed, right, pushed out its energy, it went out into eternity and returned back to itself and just kept repeating these things. And so it's the interaction with eternity that really kind of blew my mind. It's not proof, guys, obviously. This is meditation, right? And I'm not saying it could be true, but I don't know that. And the other thing that this woman really honed in on was, even though I'm showing you the smallest particle known to exist in your reality, that even the smallest particle also can drill down to the smallest particle. And so, and on it goes. And so where does the end of things actually happen? I don't think it does. We can understand the universe expanding at a very quick rate. I think it's like 75. I don't know, it's a lot. I'm not even going to guess at the number. But the universe is being shown or demonstrated to be expanding at a very high velocity. And it has been, according to scientists, since the Big Bang. And I would imagine at some point it'll retract back on itself. But that, I'm sure we won't be around for that. But we can understand forward trajectory and the growth of things. Going the other direction is a little harder to imagine, especially for us common people who are never probably ever be able to look that into those depths. It'd be kind of cool to actually look at that other than through meditation. Which, it could be just as much reality as looking through a microscope. Don't get me wrong. But this reality is really just amazing to me. And it seems like the more we evolve technologically, the more we can understand, the more we can learn. But it also brings up more questions to me than it does answers. It seems like the more we see, the more we experiment, the more we quote unquote prove, the more we are left with more questions. It's like there's a never-ending amount of information that could be out there. The amount of information that's out there could also reel into the simulation theory, because if this is a program like in the Matrix, let's just say, then there must be a database of storage of everything, every single thought, every single word, every interaction, everything that you could possibly imagine. It's sort of like in your computer. It's going to store everything that you've ever done. And if you ever need to look back at something or find some information, all you got to do is dig into the vault and to the database and see what you can find, because it's all stored there. And this book I'm reading really talks about this a lot, and it makes a lot of sense, because you hear about the Akashic records and the ability for some of us to dig into this database, if you will. But that, to me, really, it makes me question, it makes me wonder if this is a real, like, spiritual place, another dimension, another whatever, or is it really a database of sorts? And they have the ability to, some of us have the ability to tap into these places, whether it was on purpose or by accident, to know things that have happened and know things that will happen. Would always be in this database if we're running a program, right? And it also helps describe reincarnation really well, because if we're a character in a game, right, I think reincarnation is pretty well solidified. I mean, it happens. It's not proof, obviously. I do regress a lot of people through hypnosis and otherwise. And, it just seems like there's a lot of evidence, at least for me, that it happens. But it would also support a simulation theory, because as a character in a game, right? When your character dies, it doesn't cease to exist. You just get reset, start over, with a lot of the same memories and patterns. Simulation theory really, to me, is becoming a little more prevalent to me. I mean, I don't know. I would really like to get into a ship, an airship, with the, having the money to do it and the authority to do it and go up and see what I see. I don't know. It was really, really cool. Like I said, doing it during meditation is great, and it is absolutely wonderful. Seeing it with our own five senses helps us as humans actually believe things a little bit better. All right, so I've kind of gotten off off track there, a little around the block, if you will. But I think this place that we live is so amazing, and it just has this never-ending amount of information available. All the secrets are slowly being revealed, and we are alive at a very cool time, a very interesting time, where our grandparents and our parents didn't have the same opportunities to see and understand and know, or at least know as we know, knowing. That was a weird way to say it. We have opportunities now to actually try to make more sense of this place. We're being able to see through the veil, if you will, to see through the secrecy and and we live in the times where the information flow is just tremendous. Now, making sense or deciding what to believe in as truth is also becoming harder, but the amount of information out there for us to be able to partake in, weed through, and decide what it is that we want to believe in is just astounding. And so I hope that I'm not the only one that has had these experiences like I discussed on the boat, where it just seemed like some kind of portion of a reality and not the whole reality. I hope I'm not the only one. And, I hope that at some point, one of you guys or some of you guys would take me up on reaching out to me and seeing if we can compare stories and understand, hopefully together, and make a little more sense, or at least come to some kind of agreement. So, hey, go out to my website, lifebymazak.com, lifebymazak.com. Find a way that suits you to contact me and reach out to me. It'd be really cool to maybe make a composite of stories and put that out and help other people understand, or at least have the opportunity to be introduced to things so they can decide for themselves. Anyway, you will hear from me again. I hope to hear from you soon. Stay strong and live your life.